You're listening to Tonebender's Sound Design Podcast, presented by Sound Ideas. This is the show where we talk with the sonic artists behind our favorite films, games, and series. This Black Friday, Sound Ideas is offering its biggest savings of the year. Enjoy 50% off all proprietary sound libraries and memberships. Sound Ideas' best deal yet on world-class audio collections. But that's just the beginning. Each week, Sound Ideas will spotlight one of their most popular libraries with an exclusive limited-time discount. Visit sound-ideas.com regularly to discover which library is featured and grab these weekly specials before they're gone. Hello, my name is Tim Muirhead, and I am excited for today's episode as we will be talking about one of my favorite films of the year so far. I got to see it in a packed theater as part of TIFF, and I really loved it. The film is called Sentimental Value, and it's directed by Norwegian auteur Joachim Trier, who previously did The Worst Person in the World, another one of my favorite films. Joachim previously made waves in international film with another great film called Oslo, August 31st. Through all these films, the director has turned to Oslo-based supervising sound editor and re-recording mixer, Gisle Tveito, who is with me today. Gisle, it's wonderful to talk to you. I've been hoping to have you on Tonebenders for a long time, and I'm really happy that we're finally talking today. It's great to meet you. Great
to meet you too. Thank you for having me.
No problem. It's great to have you. I guess my first question is about your relationship with Trier's. How did you two first meet?
I've been with film in Norway since 89, 90, so I've been there for a while.
Yes.
When Joachim kind of arrived with his first film, I wasn't aware of him. He went to National Film School in England. I think he maybe done some commercials, but at that time I was done doing commercials. So I just got a call from a producer, talked about this new director, had his film. So yeah, I was thrilled to have another job and went to watch the film at first cut or something. I thought it was wonderful. It had something that I had missed for so many years. There was some playfulness. There were some great stuff already in there. I'm a little bit older than him, but I also done all the things he would love to have done. I grew up through the 80s, and the 80s is kind of huge for him. I played in the punk rock band in the 80s, so there were so many things that we had in common. He did some very simple research when he came to Norway, and the producer suggested me. And when we were done with that film, it won a lot of awards. At one point, he said, okay, we made the good film. Reprise was a good film. Now we're going to make a fantastic film, and I'm going to give you all the freedom in the world. And that's how it's been since then. All the freedom in the world.
So he gives you all the freedom in the world, you mean?
Yeah. It was a coincidence, but I think it was a good thing.
Well, you can say that it's a coincidence, but even if it was a coincidence, it's that you did the work that made him happy so that he came back to you, you know? It's not just a happy circumstance, It's you earned it. So I wonder if we could talk about something. Often on this show, the guests that we have on are coming on to talk about kind of crash, boom, bang films, you know? They're talking about how they design car chases, superheroes' powers, that kind of thing. But on these films, it's a little bit different kind of work, you know? It's not laser beams come out of the person's eyes, so you make a cool sound for laser beams. This is more subjective. You're more kind of trying to lead people's emotions through the sound work that you're doing. I think you kind of alluded to it earlier about the three things that you want to tackle on these films.
I think films like this is somehow more complicated. It's easier if it's going to be an explosion because it's going to be loud or it's going to be long or you're going to add something that you haven't heard before in the explosion. But having someone just staring into a wall, I'm not saying that they're doing this in this film, but the inner feelings are more complicated to somehow, in some way, portray or make interesting. In that sense, it's more complicated and it's also very delicate work. You have to be focused on some details that are maybe not that obvious because you don't have that much to play with. So my approach on films like this is that I will do some kind of mapping or some kind of layout of the film, kind of an emotional layout. So I will know what scenes are kind of important and where they should end. And then there will be some scenes that are just transportation or they're just fun. The most important thing is what's their kind of end point, where's the last turning point or whatever. And that will then determine where I should start to be able to transform or do the emotional change to that point. typical in this film, there are a couple of scenes where they're super close to each other, so it's very, very silent. So you're going from a silent room to an even more quiet room, so that means that the quietness has to be loud in the beginning. That is kind of multi-layered with room tones, of course, but then also outdoor ambience, which are very detailed cuts. So they will have always some kind of movement, always something new. So it's not like finding a stereo ambience of some kind of quiet Oslo street, but there should be a story in all the elements. And on Sentimental Value, we had a piece of music that we wasn't able to buy, and we needed the composer to come up with something. And I'm also the music editor on these films.
Oh, okay.
I'm the kind of a one-man band.
That's great.
So I usually cut all the music. If not, Olivier has done it already in the editing room, then it will be me doing it. And also I will produce some of the music together with the composers. So on this particular scene, there was some music that we couldn't buy, and then we started to work with the composer. And it sounds maybe a little backwards, but we always have the music when we're editing, and we always make sure that we have everything kind of set before picture lock. So we don't have a composer scoring to the film. We have done all that ourselves.
Wow.
The only film that was different was Thelma. It was a genre film, and we also decided throughout editorial that we're going to skip the original idea of the score because there was another film coming out that had this same kind of musical idea. So that was done in a slightly different way, but all the other films has almost everything in place. So when we have picture lock, I will have maybe 30, 40 small proto sessions that I will then conform into one timeline, and then I will just fill in the gaps and sort out whatever we haven't sorted out. But then I have the structure, have the tone and the pacing and phrasing of the films. Then you just have to do it better. Then you have to make it richer and more interesting though. It's not like I'm spending much time thinking, what should I do in this scene? What are the purpose of this? All that is kind of under control. If I find the need for it, then maybe I change the edit a little bit to make it work. And then I will just call up Olivier and say, I'm working on this scene. Maybe it's better to, and cut over there. And he will say, try it. And we'll see if it's what fits. It's a super tight and very kind of friendly, creative space for everyone.
In this particular film, Sentimental Value, there is, I was going to say a plot point, but it's almost a character in the film, the house, that is spent generations within the family. A large majority of the film takes place in this house, and we're told right from the beginning that it's an old house. I'm wondering if you took that cue to kind of give the house a sonic identity as well.
I wish I could say yes. I know the owner of the house. The good story will be, I was there for a long time recording things, and it wasn't time for that. Even though if you don't do it, it will turn out that way in a film like this. And like you said, you're told that in the beginning, so you're thinking of the house as a character or something the whole story gravitates around. There are some common elements. There are some things that I was looking for that I wanted to have there. In the last scenes between the two sisters, it's a super close and very, very quiet dialogue scene. And we had shot on 35. It was a very noisy camera. We also had problem with the Kodak stock for a while because they're cut slightly off. So they will start kind of grinding in the magazines. And on the one of these takes, and it's still the film, it started kind of very early and it's a long take. But we managed to get rid of that with some denoising. But in there's a dog barking outdoors in the shoot. And Joachim was so fond of that. So there's a lot of dog barking in this film.
I was going to say, you described yourself as a one-man band on this.
Yeah.
How is Foley tackled then?
There's a small team. On this film, it was a company here in Oslo called Footsteps. I will usually do all the dialogue myself. I will do all the music editing. I will also do sound design on the most important scenes. And on this film, we were only 2 people. So I had one more cutting backgrounds and effects. There was one person that kind of together with me quite early, so we were able to produce a lot of complex textures when we were editing.
Earlier in the interview, you mentioned that you kind of map out each scene and figure out where they start and end. This film actually has actual kind of, I don't know if it's by act necessarily, but real breaks where everything goes silent and goes to black. That's a lovely idea, but sometimes getting in and out of those can be really tricky. Yeah. And sometimes you come out of the black in a quiet, calm scene. Sometimes you're coming into really loud, crashing music. Do you want to talk about kind of the evolution of figuring out how to make those changes?
What is the film is 2 hours and 20 or something, 2 hours 10. There's an option for an extremely long version of this film. At one point, it was kind of necessary to also think we have to come down in time. And there was also a lot of stuff that was not playing as well. So when you're done with the first assembly and kind of the first cut, which is a long cut, then you have to kind of figure out how to economize on the storytelling and so on. And I think it was more like a way of making a shorter version without figuring out how to kind of interconnect the different pieces. So we just leave some black in there. I know for some people that is really annoying because you're in this mood and suddenly you're kind of torn out of it and then you're thrown into something else. But I also know that is also something that Joachim would like to do as a director, that I have total control of how I'm going to tell you this film and I'm going to do it in this way. So even though I think there was some comments during maybe one of the last 2 or 3 screenings, it was kind of set. We're going to do it this way. I had a couple of places where I asked for a little bit more space just to get a better rhythm. That is also a very important part of working on a film like this. Even though it's not obvious, but you also always have to think of the rhythmical side of a film and also the tonality. So if you're going to a cut, you're looking for maybe for a triplet or a rhythmical pattern before you're going to do the cut. So that could be dialogue, it could be a movement, it could be something, but together it's going to make cut. There's a couple of places where we change it deliberately just to pull you out of that style of phrasing, to give that specific cut to black, make it more abrupt.
In this film, as I mentioned, there's not a lot of major action sequences of any kind, so dialogue is king in this film. And all the dialogue seems really clean. You mentioned earlier that there was some problems with camera noise. Did you run into anything in this old house having to ADR anything?
No, a super important thing for Joachim is that we should always try to preserve the actor's performance on set. So there's no ADR. We didn't have any ADR in The Worst Person in the World as well. But we have some major problems in this film because the empty room with the noisy camera is kind of reverberant and and complicated. And I was trying to remember back when I started, because it was always on 35. I think that even though we have kept the cameras, there's some secret sauce that got lost in the blimps that we used to have because it's more noise from the camera on set. But we also had a sandstorm in France during the night. There's a short scene, it was a very long scene. They are out on the beach in a French town, and that was so extremely windy. I always watch all the dailies and I'm thinking, oh my God, how can this work? And it was extremely noisy for the editors. So the way we work this is that I will then produce new rush mixes that I will treat with some noise reduction, and I will also make sure that any kind of mic that is not on the action is turned off. So I will spend some time, make new production sound files that is treated in some way. So it is better and better sounding for the editor and for Joachim while we're editing. So you don't have to listen to all these jumps. That will also give me some rehearsal time on how to treat this dialogue to make it sound as good as possible. So coming from Norway, it's important to use kind of local plugins. So there's a Norwegian plugin company that I work with, and they have a tool for denoising or extract dialogue, as it's called. And I also know them. So we had some problems when we were editing. So we had some changes made to that plugin to kind of suit it even a little bit better for us.
Oh, wow. Which company is this?
This is Acon Digital.
Oh, Acon, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize they were Norwegian.
I didn't do that either. So when I first read about it and I understood it was Norwegian, I called them and said, "Is there anything I could participate with? Please let me know." So I got a built-in reverb for me, which is the immersive reverb.
Very cool.
Kind of something that I base all the things I do. It totally changed my workflow. I was able to kind of rehearse while we're editing. I knew it's possible for us to use it. Even though it was very noisy in the beginning, it's going to sound like this, and I could prove it. Mm-hmm. Because if it will be too noisy, that it will be distractive, Joachim will decide to use another take because he's not keen on the ADR process. Mm-hmm. There's a voiceover in the beginning of the film. That is, of course, recorded here in the studio. I will be the director on the voiceover recording. Okay. The voiceover in the worst person in the world, that was something we did as a kind of a mock-up or a test. I think it's 90% of that test recording is what in that film.
Oh, wow.
Joachim is not, he's a director that is, for him, is to be on set, he's not behind the monitors, he's beside the camera, he's in the scene, he's with the characters. So as soon as they're in the studio and they're behind the wall with the microphone, it's so unfamiliar ground for him, so it's complicated. So sometimes he will start directing and we will turn off the talkback mic and he will say, "You should just go on, Gisle, because I'm just messing it up." Because he will start with some kind of on-set directions, which it doesn't make sense for a person that will read the voiceover, for instance.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because a lot of big films, everybody's given their little slot. There's a music editor, there's an ADR editor, there's a sound effects editor. And I love hearing that you are in a punk rock band and you're kind of carrying that into post-production. You're doing it all. You're doing the music editing, you're doing the mix, you're doing the VO record, directing the VO record, making film, making punk rock again. I love it.
Yeah, I once described Foley as cinnamon, the spice. And cinnamon I can't stand it. It's my
That's not where I thought you were going there. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
So it's taken me a long time to embrace Foley. But I think one of the reasons is that it also took me a long time to understand that if you want things to sound right, it just takes time. And especially for Joachim, is that it shouldn't sound too manipulated. It shouldn't sound too edited. Sometimes that will be, if he gives any, sometimes his feedback could be like, it's great, but it sounds like you're manipulating it. It sounds like there's some cuts there, or he's sensitive to a lot of sound things. So quality of the room, the reverb. If there's a sound you found in a library that has a different reverb originally, he could kind of spot that. Mm-hmm. This is great, but there's the sound of that door just has it's coming from another room. I'm thinking, wow, your ears are great. So you just have to spend a lot of time, especially with Foley, to make that kind of sound like it's for real. The Foley artist on the casting crew, and Rune van Deurs, his name, I asked him what it's not, and he said he was thinking that I had kind of mixed or cut away a lot of his stuff, but I was thinking, okay, that's a good testament for you because it's all in there, but it sounds like production. So I'm thinking, well, job achieved. It's I can't stand it when you hear sound effects for the sake of a sound effect. I mean, it's great if it's a rocket or a gun or something, but footsteps like, wow, these are loud footsteps, distracting to me. My work, they will be cutting dialogue and probably make sure that I have a scene. I will try to work scene from scene, and I will have Joachim in at some point, especially if there's some music that we need to sort out. And we don't have that much songs in here. But for instance, on Worst Person in the World, there were tons of songs played in the room, and there's a party, and I think we tried like 400 tracks or something, and I will be the editor. I would just take the time it takes to kind of, okay, let's work on these footsteps, and maybe you should no cloth hair, but maybe this, and try and pan it and kind of play around with it so it kind of blends into this reality.
Going into the film to watch it, based on things that I'd seen and read, I was expecting it to be a story about a father and daughters figuring out their relationship, which it is, obviously. But what I was surprised about was the relationship that hit the hardest for me was the sisters' relationship. There's a kind of a weird, I don't know if twist is the right word, but halfway through the film, we find out something about one of the sisters that makes us see both the sisters in a different way. The scene that you referenced earlier that you had the mag problems, not the camera film problems with, where they're in the bedroom.
That's the last,
That scene knocked me right over. That was a really beautiful scene. And it's really rare to see sibling love like that and the push and pull of that. And I thought that was a really beautiful part of the film. All the actors were fantastic, but the sister really stood out. The sound work you did on the film made it all work. As I said, I really, really enjoyed the film. I'm looking forward to a second screening of it. I hope everybody out there makes an effort to go see this film. Thank you very much for talking to me today. It was great finally getting to chat with you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm always so grateful that these great sound people from around the world allow me to have these conversations with them in English. My Norwegian is non-existent, so when Gisle talks to me in my language, I really appreciate it. This Black Friday, Sound Ideas is offering its biggest savings of the year. Enjoy 50% off all proprietary sound libraries and memberships. Sound Ideas' best deal yet on world-class audio collections. But that's just the beginning. Each week, Sound Ideas will spotlight one of their most popular libraries with an exclusive limited-time discount. Visit sound-ideas.com regularly to discover which library is featured and grab these weekly specials before they're gone. Tonebenders is produced by me, Timothy Muirhead. Theme music is by Jim Guthrie. You can reach me via email through info@tonebenderspodcast.com. Follow Tonebenders on Instagram to stay on top of new episodes. If you like the show, you can help us out by spreading the word to your friends and colleagues. Or leave us a tip. Just go to tonebenderspodcast.com and click support.